Hello my sweeties and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Celise and thank you for joining my spooky little family. In today's video, we are talking about Shelby Oaks. Let's get into the video. Okay, so it seems like spooky season has been the busiest for me, okay? I have been all over the world. I have been so busy. It's crazy. Before we talk about this movie today, I just want to point out, yes, I did see Black Phone 2. I had no time to film my Black Phone 2 review because I was covering Brooklyn Horror Film Festival. But for all those wondering, I very much enjoyed Black Phone 2, and I think it is a much better installment than the first one. I will probably talk about that one in a wrap-up in a stream, but I don't think at this point I will do a full review of that movie because it's already been too long. But here we are to talk about another release that came out directly after Black Phone, just in time for Halloween. And yes, that is Shelby Oaks. So let's dive into her.
What do you mean by that?
Directed by Chris Stuckman, starring Camille Sullivan, Brendan Sexton, Sarah Dern, Michael Beach, and Keith David, Shelby Oaks follows a woman's obsessive search for her missing sister that leads her into a terrifying mystery at the hands of an unknown evil. Okay, so Shelby Oaks has been creating a lot of buzz this spooky season, and honestly, even before this spooky season, this has been a long-awaited debut for a lot of people. A lot of people were very, very excited. For those who are unfamiliar, Chris Stuckman is also a film reviewer here on YouTube. So he has also been an inspiration for a lot of filmmakers, and with Shelby Oaks being backed by Neon and Mike Flanagan, this was a big deal for a lot of people who have been avid viewers of Chris Stuckman and have very much respected his work. So let's get into Shelby Oaks. I actually got to watch this film early. I got a early screener thanks to Neon. Shout out to you, Neon. I have a lot of feelings about Shelby Oaks, and I think it's really important in today's review to be honest about this film. A lot of the buzz and the marketing for this film was done in such a way that it leads a lot of people to believe that it is a found footage film. Something that I found really interesting with the marketing of this film is that in a lot of the videos and ads and trailers, I saw a quote of this film being described as the Blair Witch Project meets Hereditary. And for a really long time, I was excited because of that quote. And also, they do use a lot of footage that is specifically from the very few minutes that this film is found footage. So let's start off first with our performers, because I think everybody in the film is quite good, so I have to give flowers where flowers are due. Let's talk about Camille Sullivan, who I was not really too familiar with, and I think she carries this film on her back. I think a lot of the film requires Camille to have kind of like this visual, subtle performance. A lot of the film relies on her reactions to things, and I think that she is incredible at just delivering tension and delivering a nuanced performance. I think everybody else was good as well. Obviously, Keith David is an icon. I was very happy to see him. A lot of the actors I'm unfamiliar with, but everybody did a good job nonetheless. I want to talk a little bit about Sarah Dern, who plays Riley. I think that she was pretty good as well. It is unfortunate that she actually doesn't have like too much to do in the film, which I think is just like a little bit strange with the fact that it is kind of this movie that is about what happened to Riley Brennan and like who took her. So I really wanted more about her. We get very, very little of her, which was kind of disappointing off the bat. So outside of performances being really good, I have to dive deeper into the story and my likes and dislikes and just overall the things that I personally feel like could have been done better and didn't really work for me. Now, immediately when Shelby Oaks starts out, it starts out, like I mentioned, kind of in the same vein as something like Blair Witch. We start off with a little bit of a found footage situation going on. I like a lot of the found footage sequences, albeit they are very, very short. I want to say they are maybe 10 to 15 minutes of the actual movie. So I feel like the marketing kind of led me to believe that this was going to be a full found footage film, in which it was not. So that was very, very disappointing. As a found footage loving girly, I kind of hated that. Either way, the found footage sequences are done pretty well. I like the way they're shot. You obviously see a lot of homages to the Blair Witch Project with a lot of imagery. And I found it really interesting that you see kind of a lot of homages to Twin Peaks. I actually feel like a lot of the film feels very inspired by Twin Peaks. I think the poster of the film and a lot of the other images that were released were very kind of Who Killed Laura Palmer, very Twin Peaksy vibes. I like the way that they shoot the Riley and the paranormal investigator crew sequences. I think it's done really, really well. A lot of the shots of Riley kind of reminded me of those shots in Twin Peaks when Donna is watching that footage of her and Laura hanging out at the park. It reminded me of that. I would imagine there is some inspiration, especially with the like, what happened to Riley Brennan, who killed Laura Palmer. I mean, you know. So I did like that. However, the film starts off making you kind of think it's found footage, and then the film kind of switches gears and we kind of end up in almost this mockumentary style thing, which was probably for about 5 minutes. Then the film changes gears and is suddenly just shot like a regular horror film. And now for a lot of people, that could work for you. You know, you may like the genre bending aspect here. For me, it kind of felt a little bit disjointed. It felt like the film didn't really know what it wanted to be, and I was really hoping for more of a full found footage film. And if we were to do mockumentary style, I was kind of hoping we'd kind of have like a more like Lake Mungo style type of film. With the marketing alone saying Blair Witch meets Hereditary, I mean, I kind of wanted that. So my issues with Shelby Oaks is kind of about where the mockumentary style ends and we start going through the motions of this story rather quickly. The film is not very long. It has a runtime of 91 minutes. So it's really quick. And when I say that after the second act, once we get into, you know, now this is a real movie, I think things kind of start falling apart a little bit. One of my main issues was that I felt like there was a lack of depth to a lot of the characters. I think we don't know a lot about Riley, and I think that's where my issue comes from. I think the reason why it works in something like Twin Peaks, even though you don't see a lot of Laura Palmer, is that you immediately get so much information about her in such a short time that you begin to care about her. And you are with these characters that knew her and you see how they're affected. And that's what makes you care about her. She is the heart of the show. And even though we don't get a lot of screen time with her, it doesn't matter because immediately you love her. You want to know what happened to her. And I feel like in Shelby Oaks, we really don't get that. And I think that is because a lot of the characters are really underdeveloped. I don't know really anything about Riley outside of the fact that she was a paranormal investigator YouTuber with a couple other people, and she went missing. We don't know anything about her. And even when we follow her sister, we also don't really know much about her. So when she finds the footage and, you know, she's having that visceral reaction and crying, Camille Sullivan's incredible in that scene. However, I was suffering to feel any kind of connection to these characters. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the film feeling like things are missing and the writing just not really working for me. Once we do get to that point in the film, I feel like it starts losing steam. Once we get to Camille Sullivan's character kind of investigating and trying to find her sister and going here and there, and things just start feeling like, all right, well, let's find out, I guess. And then like when you find out, it's kind of so quick and it just doesn't have that gut punch feeling that it should have, which I feel like really sucks. Unfortunately, I felt like the film was really lacking in tension, and I still feel like that is mostly because of the writing. So I really hated that for us. I will say I really do like seeing how inspired by other horror films Chris Stuckman is. I saw, you know, not only like little things of Blair Witch and Twin Peaks in there, I also saw like a little inspiration of Rosemary's Baby, which you guys all know is my favorite horror film. So I did love that once we kind of get the reveal of what exactly happened to Riley, and, you know, we see that it's kind of this cult situation and all of that. It kind of has this very like Rosemary's Baby vibe when we find out the entity and all of that. So I want to get more into the entity in the film. That is something that I also couldn't really connect with, and nor did I feel scared of this entity. I feel like the moment when Mia is explaining what happened to her and Riley as kids, everything is very rushed, and nor do I really understand all of the rules in this universe. And I don't 100% understand why it wanted her. And even though like she explains in the scene, it just really needed a lot more lore for me. I think that the film really lacks in the lore of this entity, and this entity should be really unnerving. I feel like, you know, we kind of have this backstory of like childhood trauma, like it's these two sisters. Naturally, this is something that would get under my skin, and it just was not. So I really hated that so much. And the film, it just flies by. It flies through everything. Not to mention, there was some CGI I didn't think looked very good. And that a lot of times can affect how I feel about a film. I didn't love the way that the entity looked. And I also didn't love that there was seemingly CGI dogs. Why? And after Good Boy being released, I'm just like, I'm sure there are many talented dog actors that we could have gotten for this. It's unfortunate, you know. I feel like part of why The Omen was scary for a lot of people back in the 70s is because they kind of had these really scary demon Rottweiler dogs that were slaying and giving and doing their job. And you know what? I just wanted a real dog to slay and do their job. Now that that's all out of the way, I have to talk about one thing that I really loved seeing, a really special cameo that I loved seeing, and that is that we get our lovely Emma, also known as Spooky Astronauts, to have a little cameo in the film. And I had my Leonardo DiCaprio moment when she popped up on the screen.
Whoa, whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Hi, my name is Emma, and let's talk spooky stuff.
For those who don't know, her and I were actually at Fantastic Fest, and Shelby Oaks was playing at Fantastic Fest. And I had kind of already knew that Emma made a little appearance in this, but I actually didn't get in to see Shelby at Fantastic Fest because it sold out right before my eyes. But I was like, I can't wait to see how they incorporate her. And so it was really cute to see her cameo, and I thought she did really wonderful. And that made me really happy. I was like, oh, queen! So we love that. Very, very proud of her. And I have to be honest, I am also very proud of Chris Stuckman for making this film. This was really cool. You know, he got backed by Neon, and it is executive produced by Mike Flanagan. And he had a lot of people really believing in him and his vision. And that is something to be celebrated. However, unfortunately, this film just doesn't really work for me. It doesn't really stick the landing. I'm curious to see what Chris Stuckman does next. I want him to do more films. I want to see him grow. So ultimately, while I didn't hate this movie by any means, it just kind of didn't work for me. And honestly, I was more sad that it didn't work for me than angry. Honestly, a movie has to do something really insane to make me feel angry that I didn't like it. I was just sad that it didn't serve what I felt like it could have. And if you guys don't know, there was also this whole thing where the film had like $1 million of reshoots done after it had already showed at a previous film festival. So then they reshot a bunch of things, and now the version that's in theaters is what we have now. I am very curious to see the version that originally played at this film festival before the reshoots, but I guess we won't get that. I don't know. It's just a film that feels really, really underdeveloped, underseasoned, if you will, and that was disappointing. I really love the poster of the film, so that sucks for me. I really wanted to love this, and I really wanted a new found footage film to add to my faves, and unfortunately, that didn't happen here. But anyways, I don't have too much else to say about Shelby Oaks. You know, if you are a fan of Chris Stuckman, I think, like, of course you should go out and see it. This didn't really work for me. And also, I do feel like it was necessary for me to just, like, let everybody know. I'm sure you guys do know, but that it's very, very little found footage despite the marketing. So, and with that, I am going to be giving Shelby Oaks 2 Levs out of 5. I think that I see a lot of good aspects to the film. I see a lot of inspiration from other filmmakers, and I am curious to see what Chris does next. It's unfortunate that this type of storytelling and this film in particular, the style of it and how we kind of change how many genres we are in one, just doesn't really work for me. But maybe it'll work for you. So if you haven't seen Shelby Oaks and you are a fan of Chris Stuckman, then I think that you should go and see this. All right, you guys, well, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps me a lot. And be sure to click that little notification bell to be up to date every single time I upload. And let me know in the comments if you've seen Shelby Oaks already. What were your thoughts on it? Did the film work for you? Did it not? I would love to talk about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.